personal about me, something pretty personal. For a long time, I thought that the way that I worked was a problem. I would get inspired, like I would genuinely get hype for this idea that I had, this new thing that I was starting, and I'd produce a ton of stuff for it, like a ton of content. It seems like I was just like able to just like pump out so much pertaining to these different ideas that I had. And so I would find myself having these really intense moments of creativity, and then it felt like I would hit a wall. Like I just couldn't go any further with it. And I had no idea what that was. And it wasn't burnout because I wasn't tired of doing the work. It was more like being tired of what I was doing, and I could not figure out what was happening, like what was wrong. It was like the signal was there and then it just like clicked out on me, like it just disconnected. And instead of waiting it out and allowing the inspiration to come back to me, I would push myself even harder. And I would make it so that I was literally like pushing, pushing, pushing to try to get through it because I felt like this is a block that I just needed to like, work my way through. I had to like strong arm, windmill my way through this block that I got. And what ended up happening is that the harder that I pushed, the worse my output became. And I was still creating, I was still putting things out there, but there was a noticeable difference in what that looked like when it was forced versus what it looked like when I was just in my flow, when I was tapping into it. And so the story that I was telling myself was that I'm inconsistent. I would tell myself that so many times. And even in conversations that I would have with mentors and coaches, I would always say like I struggle with consistency. I'm not somebody who finishes things. I need more discipline. I'm flaky. I'm not dependable. And these are all things that I felt about myself even though I was still showing up. And although none of that was true, I also didn't have the language to explain it any other way. Like I didn't have a way to verbalize what was happening with me. And I realized over time that the problem wasn't with me. Like it wasn't with who I was or how I was showing up. The problem was that I didn't understand how to make it works for me, like how to make it make sense for me. What is consistency for me? What is discipline for me? What makes sense for me to show up? And there it at the time it didn't even connect to me that there was a part of myself, the part of my creative identity that I didn't understand. I didn't know that. And what was weird for me as a creative person, and let me know if y'all feel this way too, especially if you're somebody who has always been creative, regardless of how creative or how artistic you felt like you were. If you've identified as a creative person for a good portion of your life, let me know if you can relate to this. And so for I my entire life I've been a creative person, but I didn't realize that there was still a huge part of my creative identity that I didn't understand. Like I didn't know. I didn't understand the power in my creativity in understanding how it shows up and how I relate to it and what it looks like in action. Not realizing, like I was like, wow, wait, hold up. How did I not realize this about myself? Like, how am I just learning this now at 30? How old am I, y'all? I think I'm 32. How am I just learning this at 32 years old? Like that's how I felt. Like, what? And so I would have these cycles. Let me tell y'all what it felt like and what I was going through at this time. So I would have like high inspiration moments. So this would be like me riding like this like wave, this creative wave. I'm gonna say this, and if this is offensive, please let me know. But this is the best way for me to describe how it feels. Okay, I'm putting that disclaimer out there before you cancel me. Call me in. Okay, call me in before you call me out. But I would have what felt like manic episodes, like but it wasn't like I wasn't losing my mind, or it wasn't like it was like the creativity was just out of the world, like out of this world. Like it was just like on another level. And it was like I had this like really intense output moments, like high, like I can create, record this, make this, do this, just this. I was able to really put out a lot. But then I would have moments where things would start to slow down, and that's where the uncertainty would start to creep in. And when the uncertainty starts creeping in, now this is starting to mess with my execution. This is starting to mess with me actually putting things out there, second guessing it, overthinking things, constantly trying to tweak it, adjust it. Wait, is that how I meant to say that? Is this right? What will so and so think if I post this? Are they going to think I'm talking about them? What if they don't agree with it? All of these different things that start to slow down the execution. And so slowly the output now is slowing down. I'm not putting out as much. And then that's when that external pressure started to kick in for me. And it would be like, oh no, you got to show up, you got to be posting every day, you got to be doing this, you got to go live, you got to put this out, you got to send that email, you got to go to this networking event. And it would start to feel like that hustle feeling that does not work for me. It is not good. It's not a good place for me to be in, because then I just start doing stuff. And that is not in alignment at all with who I am. And so the response that I would have when I start to feel like, oh, I need to start kicking this in to overdrive, like I'm slacking, then I will start to try to over plan things. And I have make this whole detailed launch strategy. And I try to make this whole intense, detailed content plan. And I would find myself struggling to actually execute them, even though I could literally map it all out. Like it would be a whole launch plans are in my Google Docs. Tell me, and I let me tell you the percentage of most of them actually being completed. Okay. So that would be on one end, it will be intense over planning. On the other end, it would just be avoidance. And both of them felt like productivity, which was the sneaky part, because it felt like I was doing stuff, but I really wasn't doing what mattered. And I would find myself constantly going back into that cycle. And so it would just start all over again. High inspiration, high output, go, 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 go. Slowing down, start to doubt myself. Oh no, now I'm not posting, or now I'm over here and I done gone in a completely different direction because I'm over here trying to make these like rigid plans, or I'm over here doing something completely different because I'm trying to avoid the fact that what I really should be doing, I don't really know how to do, or I don't want to do it, or something is stopping me from executing it. And so it just became this whole big thing that just perpetuated this feeling of shame. I would feel a lot of shame. I would feel like I wasn't, honestly, I wouldn't feel like a real entrepreneur. I didn't feel like a real entrepreneur. It was like I don't I don't feel like I'm getting this. Like it's not clicking for me. I'm not understanding. And it was really hard for me to understand myself and try to fix the problem, because I didn't realize what was missing for me. I didn't realize what was going on. And when I when I get into my creative thinking style, which I realized I didn't tell y'all what my combo was, but my dominant creative thinking style is inspirational, and my secondary is systems thinking. And so you're about to see how, when done well, this is a beautiful chef's kiss combo. Okay, beautiful combo. But when things go wrong, when they go awry, and both of the thinking styles is trying to like fight for attention, that's when things start going off the rails. And so I'm really gonna like paint this picture for y'all and let y'all see what this process looked like for me. But this is what I was feeling in the beginning: so much shame, so much um almost like, I don't want to say imposter syndrome, but I felt like a fraud a lot of times. And although I would know intellectually that what I was saying made sense and it was good, I would also still second guess it before putting it out, or felt like I needed to fine tune it and fix it. Like there was just so much going on. And the biggest thing, the biggest hurdle for me was understanding what consistency actually looked like, because everybody was telling me what it looked like, right? And I feel like we can all relate to this. Everybody's telling me what consistency is supposed to look like and how you're supposed to show up, but that wasn't making sense to me. And I was over here doing the steps, and them steps ain't stepping. They wasn't working for me. It wasn't making sense. And so the only thing that I could deduce was that it was me. Like I'm the problem. I'm the reason why. Welcome in, Adrian. Welcome in. Have a good class, Kayla. Okay, so let's get into how this all evolved for me. So well, actually, before we do that, let me tell y'all a little bit about the inspirational. Inspirational is what we're focusing on today because that is my dominant creative thinking style. And then we're going to talk about the systems how the systems comes into play and how they work together. So my inspirational side, it needs meaning. Things have to resonate with me. And that is like not a non-negotiable. Like it has to have meaning and it has to resonate. And if there are things that I can do that don't necessarily have a meaning or are not that deep, I guess you could say, but when it comes to my actual work, like the things that require my creativity, that is a non-negotiable there. Like that has to be there. And then my system side wants to build containers. Like it wants things to have frameworks and systems that I can repeat and that I can replicate and I can use to make this model that I've created in my mind make sense, like the practicality of it. And y'all can see that even in the way that I create and how I talk. I always have the inspirational side, the meaning, the emotion behind things. And then I also have to have the part where, okay, now how does this make sense practically? How do we apply this and how do we make this something that we can use in our everyday lives? Like that's me right there in a nutshell. Inspirational systems thinking. And so sometimes when they work together well, it is a beautiful combo and they're in sync. But there are times where the systems part of me tries to take over too soon, or the inspirational side of me is like just kind of like doing its own thing, but it needs something to ground it. And so I'll illustrate what all of that looks like, but just to give you an idea of what be going on up here, that's what's happening. That's what's happening. So my work, the work that I've done since I have been an entrepreneur, and honestly, even before I considered myself to be an entrepreneur officially, I had this thing about me that I've always had to have like this deep meaning for things. Like that's always been me. That's always been there. And actually the system side has always been there too. Now that I think about it, we're not going to go too deep into my childhood, but this is just kind of like setting the scene. So it's always, those things have always been there. And so when it came to my very first, like, this is for real, I'm starting a business, I got the LLC, like I'm doing this for real, my first official business was resale, and I was selling repurposed clothes. And even the process of repurposing clothes, on the surface, it does save people money. It does allow you to express your creativity, and all of that stuff is great. It gives you a sense of individuality. Check, check, check. All great benefits and features. But repurposing for me was always so much deeper. And I would always connect it to like my life. And that I would see the connection in repurposing something and then there being a story to tell that goes along with it, or that couples with it, like there the meaning behind it, like the deeper why. I'm always tapping into that. So then moving forward, Fast forward about a year or so, then I shift from resale fashion to styling. And in styling, I was doing personal styling, and I had a few clients under my belt already that I was working with. I was doing virtual, and I was also doing in-person styling. And so the practical side, the system side of me was the one that could go into somebody's closet and I could say, okay, this is you, this is not. This is good for you, this makes sense, this doesn't. And I was literally creating systems for people that allowed them to get dressed every day, right? And not only was that the systems part tapped in heavily when it came to that aspect of it, but also the inspirational side of me was going to always dig deeper. And so not only was I talking about style from like the aesthetic sense of what are you putting on your body, the practical side of it, I also talked about the deeper why behind why you're getting dressed, why you made the choices that you do, what your relationship is with your body, how you feel about being perceived, and how that affects what you choose to wear. I would talk about how the person who has an all black wardrobe is telling you one thing versus the person who is got the big, bold, bright colors, right? I was always talking about the deeper why and not just telling people what to do because that was not aligned with how I process information. And it didn't feel fulfilling to me to just tell people X, Y, and Z. I want you to understand why you're doing it because that's how I process it. And so I was starting to realize, even before I had the language for it, I was starting to realize that my edge, my unique approach to any industry is that I'm going to bring the soul into it. Like that's how I would verbalize it at the time. I'm going to bring the soul into it. I'm going to always go into the deeper why into things because that was the approach that I didn't believe was common. I didn't believe that people were really talking about that. And even to this day, I see more people when it comes to style talking about those things, but not anywhere near on the level that we see people just telling you outfit formulas and what color you're not supposed to wear after Labor Day and like all the silly stuff that we do and all the rules that we create that really aren't real rules. You know what I'm saying? And so I was starting to realize like that was my edge, my creative edge. Again, didn't have the language for it, but that's where it was. Moving forward, that's when I started to get into getting unshy. Getting unshy started because I had this thought around visibility. And I was thinking about how some of the challenges that people have with being consistent and showing up, the things that they had, the discomfort that they have with speaking in front of people, or the discomfort that they may have, or the unwillingness a lot of times to say the thing that is more disruptive, or say the thing that's not popular, and like the not the whole rage bait unpopular opinion thing, but like truly saying the thing that know is probably not everybody's cup of tea, or what you have to say might disrupt people's lives, but you have something important to say. And so I was really intrigued by what what is it that blocks people's ability to be visible when they have all of the information and the tools that they need to show up, right? We got a phone, we got headphones. You don't even need a microphone these days. We got headphones that have a pretty decent mic on it. We got natural light because the sun's there. So you have everything that you need to create. Why aren't you? And I in my mind, I was like, there has to be a deeper reason why. There has to be something else. And that's how getting unshy came to be. And so y'all know, if you are not aware or not familiar with me, getting unshy is the framework that I created for building a brand. So building your brand, not just your personal brand, but building your brand overall so that you know how to remain multifaceted without having to water yourself down, but also being able to understand what that common thread is so that you can make money with your creativity. That was my goal. That is my goal with getting Unshy, the collective, and helping people to use their voices, be bold, do the things and say the things that are countercultural because it's necessary. And so I created the workbook. I created the collective, which is the container that is a branding container where we have ongoing consultation, feedback, challenges, workshops, all the things. And so in there, you get to work on your brand and you get to practice executing so that you can start to see results. So I started to develop that. And as I'm developing this, I'm moving in this, getting Unshy was one of those things that when I started doing it, it really took off. Actually, let me pause there because one thing that I want to say that I'm realizing as I'm talking about this is that every time I tapped in, and I mean like I really tapped into what my creative edge was, my videos were viral. Like every single time, y'all. I was thinking about my first styling video that popped off. It was because I was thinking deeper than the surface. The getting Unshy that started because I had a video that went viral talking about how being shy would have kept me from being a millionaire. Like that's a true story, by the way. It's on my page. I think it's still pinned on my TikTok. And then there was something else. There was a few other style videos, and then the creative thinking styles is actually one that I think is on the cusp of virality. I'm starting to see signs that it's I'm hitting on something with this. But the point is that I'm recognizing it as I'm talking about it. Oh, every time I tapped into this, I my visibility increased noticeably. And so I feel like that's so cool. I that means something. I don't know yet what it means, but if you got something from me saying that right there, just put I got something in the comments or in the chat. So I know that at least like you get where I'm going even if I don't have the words for it yet. And so this was my journey. And so the creative thinking styles was something that came to me last year. I don't remember at what point last year where I really started to get into this, but the creative thinking styles was something that was sparked by this question that I had where what is creative thinking? How do people tap into it? Are there different ways of creative thinking? It was something around those lines. And I stumbled across this article, this thesis actually, that was done by a man named Adam Jorlin, and it was these creative thinking styles. I don't remember exactly how he phrased it. I call them creative thinking styles. He does use a different term for them. However, he is the one who I am inspired by when I talk about these. And so I was reading it and I was able to see, oh, inspirational thinker, that's somebody. Aesthetic thinker, yes. Lateral thinker. Oh my goodness. I was starting to be able to picture people who matched these creative thinking styles. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is the coolest thing ever. Why is nobody talking about this? And so I was able to first and foremost understand myself better because of it. And then when it worked for me, I was like, oh snap. I definitely got to tell y'all about this. You got something, Adrian? Okay, bet. I was like, "Oh yeah, like we cooking with Crisco now. Like this is definitely I'm definitely on to something with this." And so what I realized through all those different iterations of my journey as an entrepreneur that the thread was still there even when I tried to put it into a box or when I tried to make it so narrow that it didn't give me space to explore what this looked like across different areas. And when I say that, I mean that specifically in the sense of I'm a fashion creator. I am a stylist. I am a fashion designer. And there's nothing wrong with those roles. I have literally, y'all, I've loved every iteration of it, but I couldn't shake the fact that it felt limiting. I couldn't shake the fact that it felt like it wasn't fully tapping into what I want to do. And it was missing a very important part of me that needed to be expressed. And so that was the journey that I was on trying to uncover that. And so when the creative thinking styles popped up on my screen and I was like, "Oh, yes." And it ended up being the thing that really helped bring the mission together that I've always had ever, but even before I decided that I was an entrepreneur, before the LLC, before before I even became an adult, I knew that I inspired creativity. I knew that everybody was creative. I never believed in that whole some people are creative, some was not. I've never been that way. I always felt like people had access to it because I saw them all as skills. I saw it all as things that you could learn, that you could develop. And so when I saw that there were other people who had the same thoughts as me and approached it from a research perspective, a cognitive perspective, I was like, oh my goodness, I see it now. Like I really see it. It's really making sense to me. I'm understanding it and I'm doing the same thing that I've always been doing, but now the way that I get to do it feels more expansive and it feels more fulfilling and it feels like I'm being able to now showcase more of who I am, which is not even really about me expressing myself as much as it is about me giving myself every opportunity that I can to stand out and be different and be unique. Hey, John, literally giving myself the ability to differentiate myself with every facet of myself that I get to express. I'm making myself stand out more and more and more. And that's what feels good to me. And that's the part that's branding. Yes, yes. That's the part. That's the part. That's it. That's it. Oh, thank you, John. Thank you. All right, y'all. I'm not nervous anymore. I'm just cold. So if I'm taking these deep breaths in y'all ear, I apologize. I'll try to move the mic back just a little bit. So this is, as we talked about, this is the fifth and final case study inside of our creative thinking style series. We still have one more video to go. Okay. We still have one more video, the breakdown of the inspirational thinker. However, I do want to take a moment to let you know that I have an invitation for you. I have an offer for you that takes the creative thinking styles. Now that we are almost complete in our series, it takes all the creative thinking styles. And not only does it help you to understand yourself, but it also helps you to create consistently. Okay. I have heard so many different versions of I'm not disciplined enough. I just need to be more consistent. I just need to do X, Y, and Z. And as cool as that sounds, that's not a plan. That's not actually you taking action. It's just you acknowledging that there is something that's wrong. And so, what I'm posing to you through this series and with this offer is that you've been trying to be consistent in a way that doesn't actually fit the way that you are wired. You have been trying to execute, you have been trying to create in a method that doesn't make sense for who you are. And throughout this series, I hope that you've been able to see that there are so many different ways to create. There's so many different ways to show up and to be consistent, to be somebody that's dependable and somebody that builds authority because people trust you to show up. And you can do that without following the same steps and the same systems that people are telling you are the only way to be successful, the only way to be consistent. And so this offer is called the Creative Authority Protocol. And it goes through all five of the creative thinking styles. And from there, depending on which style you are, it's going to give you a plan. if I starts off with a 7-day plan to create consistently, and each one is catered towards your potential pitfalls as a creative thinker. So, whatever your problems are, whatever your challenges are as an inspirational thinker, maybe you're a lateral thinker, maybe you're a divergent thinker. We all, no matter which dominant thinking style you have, each of them has different challenges that come up that make you procrastinate, that make it hard for you to actually get your ideas out and to execute them consistently. Or maybe you do execute, but you don't finish what you start. All of those different things are addressed inside the protocol. It gives you 7 days at first, and then it gives you a full 30-day plan for you to be able to create consistently. And by the end of it, you should be able to see that you actually can build trust first within yourself. And then you build trust with your audience because you have become somebody that they can depend on to show up. So the protocol is only $27 right now, is a digital bundle. I have it tagged in the chat. And once this video is done recording, it will be in the description box. So make sure you go and check it out. If you've been listening to these and you feel like you are seeing yourself in it, but now you're like, okay, what do I do next? That is your next step. Put it to work, put it to the test, and see for yourself that once you understand this, this is the barrier that's been stopping you from being able to create and build the trust that you know that you can build. So that's down there. If you're interested, both of those places. I don't know why I feel like the chat's over here somewhere. I don't know where it is on YouTube, y'all, but these places, that's where you can go to check it out. Okay. Oh, before I move forward, hold on. Hold on. Let me look at the comments. You said, oh, closer. Differentiation through self. Yes, exactly. Exactly. That, like, literally that's the thing. That's what you need. You need to understand yourself. And I I'm always grateful when I can find ways to articulate things that we hear all the time, but break it down in a different way. So I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna get into it. Actually, we're gonna talk about it. I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's move forward. So let's talk about what my profile, what my creative thinking style combo actually means. So I told y'all my dominant is inspirational thinker, which is also known as the visionary. And so my direction comes from things that have meaning, from things that resonate emotionally, and from intuitive, like an inner knowing, a right. Like this feels right. And this always came up for me when it came to my faith. I grew up Christian, we non-denominational, and I was that kid that 7, 8 years old studying the Bible. Like full blown studying the Bible. I would write my own sermons, I would do my own Bible studies. And it would be because I was enthralled by how much you could learn about people, about life. And I would have questions. And so when I had a question, now I got to go to the Bible and figure out an answer. So that was a big part of even the inspirational part of me. I will say that I do make sure that I say intuitive because it doesn't require a religion to have this creative thinking style. However, if you do have one, if you do have something that you believe in, a faith, then you're going to, you probably reference it a lot when it comes to your creativity. So, and that was mine. So I'm motivated by things being aligned, and I can feel the alignment. Like it's something that in it that just feels right. Even if I can't exactly explain why to you, I feel it. And when I feel it, I just go. Like I gotta move. I gotta go. I don't know where it's taking me. Sometimes I end up doing stuff and then later on I'd be like, dang, I was scared. What in the world? Why did I do that? That was you too, Adrian? Full blown Bible study at home. I got so many journals, so many journals of me just studying. And so when something feels right for me, that's when my output is typically super duper high. Like if it feels like it clicks, it makes sense. I know how to do this. I know how to talk about this. I understand why I'm doing it. Go, 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 go. And so I'm not necessarily looking for I'm not always looking for a formula as long as it fits. Okay. Now, with that being said, the system side of me is a little different. So with the systems thinking, I produce through traction with frameworks, sequences, organizing ideas, operational design. And mine is interesting because I'm really good at organizing people. And I know this is a real thing because I looked it up before because I don't know if it's inspirational part of me or not, but I have always been very, very obsessed with like self growth, like self development. And so I was curious about administrative, like different types of administrative people. Cause I took some quiz and it told me I had administrative skills, which I'm now realizing was my systems thinking. But it really comes out when it comes to people. Like I really do well being able to put people in their proper places, which again sound branding. Look at that. It all come full circle. And so anyway, that's the systems part. And so the strength as a systems thinker is the ability to turn something abstract into a usable structure, a usable flow. And even with the creative thinking styles, that was exhibited by me taking these ideas and these concepts and then creating a quiz that helps people to learn which one is theirs, and then taking that same concepts and creating a bunch of other stuff with them too. That I will be here for a minute trying to go through everything that I have already done with it and that I plan to do. But I'm actually going to talk about what my plans are with the creative thinking style specifically later on in the video. So don't worry, y'all, you're going to keep getting in my business a little bit. And so this is what makes it possible to teach the thing that the inspirational side of me is gleaning. And whatever I get as the inspirational thinker, the systems part of me allows me to be able to share that information in a way that people can apply it for themselves. Yes, you see people deeply so you can position them properly. Yeah, you get it. You get it. So when what this combo does well, let's talk about that. We're going to talk about what it does well, and we're going to talk about the risks and the challenges, so to speak, that come with this combo. So when they're playing well together, okay, when my two dominant thinking styles are playing well, the visionary part of me gives direction. So why does this matter? And what is this really about? Those are the questions that are being answered by my visionary side. The system side of me, or the architect, is the one that builds the container. So taking that insight and then turning it into something that's teachable, scalable, or repeatable. All right. And so together, it creates a framework or a curriculum or a program that really does some very deep, important work, and it answers unique questions. And a lot of times questions that people didn't even really realize that they had because they didn't know to ask it, which is what I was experiencing. I didn't know to ask about creative thinking styles. I didn't know that that was a thing. I just didn't know. And so the messaging that I have tends to be very emotionally on point. Like, and I don't even be doing that on purpose. I just be talking. I just be talking. And it comes out like I do very well with relating to people. But then also it is structurally clear. So I can connect with you. I can bring you something that makes you feel something, and then I can show you what it looks like to move through it. And that is when it's just such a cool combo to watch it play out, especially when I get to look at what I've completed, what I've created, and I'm like, dang, that was up here. Yeah, I did that. And so by default, by default, everything that I create is purpose driven. And I, even when it comes to people that I work with, I don't do best with people who don't operate that way either. And if you don't, if you're just in this as an entrepreneur because you're trying to make money and that's what you're trying to do, you know, that's the businesses can do that. But I don't, that ain't me. Like I said earlier, it has to have a deeper meaning for me. And so it's hard to create something that doesn't mean something. It gotta have a meaning. It gotta have a place. And so that is honestly, that's a pro, but it can also be a challenge at times. But let's get into the risks of the combo as well. So the first one is delay while waiting for clarity. And because because of who I am, I feel like on the spectrum of getting things done, like on the spectrum of execution, speed, I talked about this in a previous video. Maybe it was the divergent thinker. I talked about there being a spectrum and how a scale rather on how quickly or how slowly people execute depending on what their thinking style is, their dominant ones. So on the furthest end, like the ones that are going to be like the quickest to execute things is the divergent thinker. And on the other end is I have it as at first it was systems thinker, but I kind of feel like systems and lateral thinker are like neck and neck when it comes to the speed of execution. I think it depends. I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say that systems thinker is like the slowest to execute, but lateral's like right there. And then I feel like inspirational thinkers are in the middle. And I only say that because we have waves. Like we literally have like moments where output is super duper high and then it goes down and then it goes back up. Like it quite literally is just like a wave. And so I think that it can be more on the, quick moving side. And then it can be like oh, mm-mm. And so having those waves coupled with being a systems thinker as well, which is on the end when it comes to execution speed, I can get into the habit of not moving on things until it feels right. Sometimes, like I said, that is a strength, and then other times it's an excuse, right? I'm just gonna call it like it is. So it can look like procrastination. And, I'll say that it is procrastination because I don't think that procrastination is always a bad thing. I feel like procrastination is just a sign, like, hey, hold up, we're not doing this. Let's evaluate why. I think that's how I see it. I just see it as a sign. But usually I'm taking in the information. But what happens is that like that can end up delaying or sometimes not ending up me executing anything, right? Like nothing goes out when it pertains to whatever topic or idea that I had. It doesn't actually happen. So that's the first risk. The second risk can be overbuilding the systems. This happens when the systems side of me starts rising up and it's like, okay, no, this needs to make sense right now. Give it a structure, make a plan. We need details. Put this in order. And so that is where I believe all of those launch plans that I created that I told y'all that probably got about like 20-30% completed is because the system side rised up. It rose up a little too fast. And it was like, okay, let's plan out the next 90 days. Girl, what? Mm-mm. So it can turn things into something that I feel like I have to build and build and build before it's actually been lived in. Like it's gotta I have to actually see it happen. and be able to build as I go. But we're not talking about fixing it right now. I keep getting ahead of myself, but that's one of the things. And so the systems though, when that happens, it can be a way to avoid the vulnerability of putting something out that doesn't feel complete, or in some cases is quite literally not complete. You know, it can be, it's a way to avoid that vulnerability, soften it, the desire to appear like I got it all together, like I got it all figured out. And so it's a way to protect myself from that at times. So that's risk number 2. And then risk number 3 is the two sides stalling each other. So now they're like, they're butting heads. And so the visionary part of me maybe waiting for the meaning of it, whereas the architect part is waiting for the perfect container. So on both ends, we both like, well, what you finna do? Well, what you finna do? That's what I, the face off, like, well, what you finna do? That's what it feels like. And so when that happens, nothing happens. Like, and I've had days like that. Sometimes I still have days like that. Like, it's not a perfect science. I think that what it helps me to do is not eliminate it completely. And I want to say this because I think it's important for you to hear it as well, is that it doesn't eliminate the challenges. It doesn't eliminate the risks. It doesn't remove the fact that they're going to happen. But on those days, I do understand it. Like, you know what? My creative sides, they beefing right now. And so let me just take a break. Like, let me just take a step back and figure out what I need and then come back to this. And so it'll look like the days where there'll be days where I literally feel like my brain is just like, no. I'll come and sit at this computer. No. Immediately no. I'll try to pick up the phone and talk. No words. Even in the middle, like if I knew I was literally just talking about something a few days ago that I could continue the conversation on, sometimes my brain is still like, no, mm, not today. Put it down. And so those that I know, that's the days where I know, like, okay, visionary system side, we both in our corners throwing a little fit. And so let's take a step back from it. So that's the pattern that I was living in, and not realizing what was actually happening. I wasn't understanding what that was. And so I want to show y'all exactly where it was. I want to show you I want to show you how I like really broke this down for myself. That's what I want to say. And how I broke this down for myself, because I want y'all to see how these specific points of friction is it's useful to understand where they are. And the profile helped me to see that. Like, I really want y'all to be able to imagine, like, oh, if I am, even if you don't have my combo, which everybody won't, if you don't have my combo, but you know what your combo is, you get to be able to actually understand where the friction is coming from. And one thing that another thing that just came to my mind, I feel like that is what we are experiencing when we have these creative blocks. Like blocks. My mom is an author, and one of the things that she said to me that I thought was so intriguing was that she doesn't believe in creative blocks. Like, she doesn't believe in them. When she is experiencing a creative block, and I'm gonna use quotations since she doesn't believe in them, that is a sign for her that the story is not there, the characters are just not speaking right now. And so that means that she needs to take a break, or that she needs to shift her focus to something else, or that it's, let me put this down and pick up something else and then come back to it, because the creativity is an inexhaustible resource. The creativity is always flowing. It's always there. And so she doesn't function that way. She doesn't operate that way. And at this point, I think that she's written over 20 books now, So I definitely trust her judgment when it comes to creative blocks because the idea of writing 20 books in the last what 10 years, incredible. And so that's what it makes me think about, when you understand that you could be able to recognize, okay, I'm not blocked. It's not that I'm not creative. I'm not even really stuck. This is just a sign that I need to pay attention to, and then do what it is that is needed so that I can tap into the flow again, or that I can give myself what I need. Whatever it is, whatever that sign is that is telling you, whatever is pointing to, that's what you pay attention to so that you can get back into whatever it is that you're working on. And so yeah, the face off is no joke. So yeah, that's what I made me think about, y'all. So I want to talk about some of the things that I heard that was well intentioned advice. Like it was good advice. I'm not even gonna say it was bad. It was good advice. It wasn't advice that I could use, however. And I want to talk about this especially because this is the part where I believe a lot of creatives are right now, where they are hearing a lot of other people's advice and they're hearing a lot of other people's strategy on what you should be doing, how you should be showing up, and if this is not working for you, this is the reason why. And you are trying these things earnestly and still not getting results. So then what do you do then? Does that mean that you're not built for this? Does that mean you just give up? Does that mean that you're going in the wrong direction? That you've been doing the wrong thing this entire time? Right? Those are all things that I have felt and was thinking. And so I want to talk about that. And as I'm talking about them, let me know if you've felt any of these things too, or when you've heard this advice, if these are thoughts that you've had as well. So some of the standard advice that I would hear, and that would really it started irritating me. It started getting on my nerves. So when people would be like, just post the content. Oh, if you want to make me mad, and people are doing it even now, just this is your sign to just post the content. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You could have saved your breath on that one. But anyway, um, when they would say like, yeah, just post anyway, stop caring what other people think and just post the content, right? And so I couldn't get with that philosophy. I couldn't get with that advice because it was asking me to override all the uncertainty that I had instead of resolving it. And if there's one thing that I cannot stand is when people do not get to the root of the problem. I cannot stand it. I cannot stand it because in my mind, you got time to waste. That's how I see it. You must got time to waste if you want to dance around everything but the actual problem. Like, let's actually address what the issue is so that we can get results. And when content like that, you're asking me to just override it, just go over it, it don't work because I'm going to be back in the same place next week watching somebody else tell me to just post the content. And now the only thing that's happening is shame. The only thing that's being built is shame. And so as an inspirational thinker, as a visionary, I had to think about what's my role here? What am I actually good at? What does good look like for me and the way that I think? And again, I was having these thoughts before I knew about the creative thinking styles. However, being able to just ask those questions and understand that was important for me as an inspirational thinker because I need that. I it may be too deep for some people, but I quite literally need that to fuel my creativity. That is the flow that I operate in. And so if I don't have that, I'm not able to function effectively. I can go through the motions, but I'm not really showing up powerfully. I'm not showing up with authority. I'm not showing up as disruptive and as impactful as I can be. And so without those answers, without knowing that you're asking me to make my confidence built on willpower, motivation, the hopes and aspirations, and like, I'm just gonna power through. I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna put my head down and just do the work. I'm just gonna grind. I'm just gonna hustle. Mm-mm. What was necessary, what I needed was evidence. Okay, evidence. I didn't need to be motivated. Quite literally, I even now, I really don't need to be motivated. I just need to understand why. That's it. That's it. If I can understand the why, if I can understand the role that I play in it, I don't need to be it's not motivation is not the problem. I'll do the work. But I have to understand how, like how and what's stopping me from doing it. What are the challenges that I'm encountering? And so the evidence came from execution and actually doing the things and actually saying things that are in alignment with the questions that I had. The what is my role? What am I actually good at? What does good look like? What does consistency look like? So being able to have those answers was what I needed to be able to start showing up consistently, right? And so what I was realizing is that people weren't able to give me those answers. They weren't able to give me those answers. And to this day there's things that I knew I there were some things that I knew I had to understand for myself. And once I understood that, now that also helped me to understand, okay, now who do I need help from? Who do I need to hire? Who do I need to work with to then supplement these other things that are skills that I don't have yet or things that I want to develop, right? Like it feel like it freed up so much for me to be able to be clear on what that looked like. And so that's what I was that's what oh man, that was a big one. So I'm gonna talk about some of the other things that I would try too, y'all, in just a moment. Let me see what we're over here saying in the comments. Okay, Adrian said, right, just post the content. Yep, the irrelevant, audience confusing content. Yeah, like no, no. If it's bad, just don't like. There's no point in posting it. There's no point in posting it. And when I say bad, I mean like irrelevant. If it is irrelevant, no, no, not posting it. So here are some of the things that I also tried. All right. So I tried the whole daily posting thing. And honestly, the when I stopped trying to post every day, I was able to post every day. Isn't that so weird? But anyway, I would like force myself to be like, okay, post this, post this, post this. Batching content for the life of me cannot the way that it was taught anyway. Like the I don't know if y'all were making content at this time, but it was like this big thing, especially with YouTube, where like creators were batch creating their content, and they would sit down for like a chunk of time and they would record one video, then they would go and like change their shirt and then record another video and then change their shirt and record something else. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. I just I'm not going to do that. I would much rather be in the exact same shirt. Like, I'll be in the exact same outfit. It didn't it was like it was just it was very interesting to me. It all but I also was very clear on the fact that that was not going to work for me. The content calendars, I had so many different content calendars, and I just couldn't I couldn't get past for many of them. I couldn't get past how to use them in the first place. They weren't working for me. The most effective content calendar, so to speak, that I've used was Repurpose, and Opus clips. And that's because I'm repurposing content and I'm not batch creating it, at least not in the way that it was presented to me. Right. And so all of those things were not working. And so I could go for a short period of time doing those things. Even when it came to like the daily live stream challenge that I've given myself, I've done multiple live stream challenges, posting challenges where I post 21 days, 30 days. I think the most that I've done is 30 days. I would be able to maintain it for that period of time. But once that was over, I was not doing it no more. Like I was good on that. And so the guilt that I would have from not being able to stick to them, even like physical planners are a challenge for me. I don't keep up with them. I don't do well with them. I stopped buying planners years ago because I was tired of buying them and then that going the whole year and then being empty. I wasn't they weren't working for me. And what I eventually understood about myself is that I'm not a constant output creator. I'm not the person who's going to always be able to just create, 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 post, 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 and do that continuously for long stretches of time. Like I and it just that's not the way that I create. That's not how my output flows. And so the best way to describe the way that I am is a burst creator, which means that sounds like let me give context to that because that sound a little bad by itself. Anyway, I create in bursts like the waves that I described. So I have really high waves. I'm still on a wave right now, even though it does feel like it's starting to slow down a little bit, but I'm on a wave right now. And so my output is very high. But I also know that there are going to be periods where it's going to start, it's going to start dipping a little bit and having plans in place or having a system in place that allows me to go with that flow instead of trying to force something else onto me, right? And so it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm like going long stretches of time and not posting at all. I don't think that that's a wise way to move if you are trying to make money with your business. You want to make money on these platforms, you have to be showing up. But what it does mean is that I am more aware of those rhythms and I have things that I can go back to that helps to fill in those gaps. So, for example, this last week, I didn't go live last week. And I'm sure y'all noticed if y'all be here, if you're here often, then you probably noticed like, oh, Jada didn't go live. It ended up being a much heavier week creating than I was prepared for. Like I had no idea that I was gonna be, I just didn't realize like that's how my life was gonna be. So I didn't have enough time to make the outline for my live stream. And I don't want to just come on here and start rambling. So I was like, okay, I know I didn't do this live stream this week, but I do have a video that I created a while ago. Let me go put that video, make it public because it was unlisted. Let me go make the video public, add a description to it, add a thumbnail to it. Boom, I got some content. So things like that, or even going back to clips that I pulled from my live streams. I have hundreds, hundreds of clips that I can go to. And if I have a day where I'm not in the mood to create, or it don't feel like the words is really coming to me, like I'm having one of those face off days, then I just go and I post something from the archives. I go and post a clip. There we go. I have shown up, I've posted. Or I go and I'll post on threads. If I don't have a full video for you, I have some ideas, I have some thoughts. Let me go to that. Or even my journal. I write multiple times a week, if not every day out of the week. So I can go back to what I wrote down and I can use that for my content. I literally did that today for my email. So I have things. I'm always creating. I always have something that I can either create from scratch or repurpose. And so that has helped me to reduce the shame that I feel around it. And it also, because I don't feel the shame around it, I am now able to take action, and I'm able to create a plan for myself that allows me to remain visible even on the days where the energy is not there. Right? So I'm looking at the time, y'all. I have been, I don't know where I don't know where I spent all my time talking at. We are at an hour. Oh my goodness. I'm wondering if I got to do a part two. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm only like halfway through this. It just clicked. It just clicked. I did. Well, you know what? I don't know. We just gonna keep on going. We're gonna keep on going. Maybe I'll split it up into two when I go to repurpose it. Maybe we'll do that. Dang, that is so interesting. Okay. So y'all, okay, so let's get into the shift. Hopefully this doesn't take me 30 minutes to talk about. I'm trying to think, where was I talking this much? All right. So one of the biggest things that I mentioned earlier is that my work in its core didn't change. What I was doing, who I am, how I work with people, how I serve people has not changed. It looks different and has been presented differently, but it's still the same work at its core. And I stopped trying to force it into something that didn't fit no more. I stopped trying to force it to be styling. I stopped trying to force it to be fashion. I stopped trying to force it to be just branding. I stopped trying to force it into this and really allow it to take form in the way that it needed to. And so, even though it wasn't expressed in this way, the thread was there. It just was being stuck inside of a niche that was limiting my output, limiting my ability to express it. And so being able to tap into that and understand it, coupled with knowing that this is the way that my creativity works, this is how it thrives, it it almost encourages me to dig even deeper and to be even more comfortable with doing these deep dives into creative thinking and to be willing to walk you through the process and through the steps, knowing that not only is that the way that my brain works, but it also is content. It's also the style and the method that I use to create and to help you all at the same time. I hope that I said that in the way that I'm imagining it, because it feels like it's doing different jobs at the same time. Like different things are happening all at once because I understand this. And so my visionary side gets to be deep, it gets to have meaning, it gets to have that resonance. I get to tap into the intuitive side, and then the systems part of me is what helps to create predictable ways to tap into my creativity and to sustain it and to show up so that people are seeing me at a level that they need to market my business. And one of the things that I learned about myself when it comes to the platforms that I need to be on is that as an inspirational thinker and a systems thinker, the platform that serves me best is actually YouTube. And this year, last year actually, I think I hit it last year, or maybe it was the beginning of this year. I finally made it to 1,000 subscribers. And I have done multiple challenges, all the vlog misses, all the different things to grow this page, this platform that I've had for a very long time, y'all. Like literally I've had this platform for years, and it felt like the bane of my existence because I was not able to grow on here. And the growth wasn't what was important to me as much as it was feeling like my content was reaching the right people. And so this the understanding that part of myself is why I create videos and series, but I don't make myself have to stick to a specific plan. And okay, we're going to talk about this week and this week. Y'all don't know what I'm gonna talk about each week, but you know I'm gonna talk, but you know what I'm gonna talk about at the same time. Like you know what to expect, but you don't. It's predictable, but it also got a little like, gotcha in there. It's a little spontaneity that's dropped in there. And that is the perfect flow for me because it gives both sides of me what I need to create. And I was able to take that understanding and create a rhythm for myself that I can where I can create content in a way where I can trust myself to show up and do the work. I've completed multiple series at this point, so I could never say I'm not a consistent person ever. Ever. Miss me with that, okay? I know for a fact I am consistent. I show up, I do my job. Okay? I know it. It may not always look like it's not always on the exact same day, but I showed up. And that's what matters. So I wanted to highlight that. I feel like I walked through that part pretty quickly, but what I want to really highlight from it is that the confidence that we need as creatives really comes from evidence. If there is anything else that you take from this, the confidence comes from the evidence, being able to see ourselves showing up consistently, showing up with authority, showing up and connecting and reaching the right people, showing ourselves that we can trust our creative output. We can trust what that we're going to show up and do the things that we say we're going to do. We can trust ourselves to complete our projects, to complete our ideas, to close the loop on whatever current obsession that we have, like being able to complete things. All of that is the evidence that reminds us of our confidence. I won't even say build, but it is what reveals our confidence. It's what strengthens it. Maybe that's the best word to use. It strengthens our confidence. And so with that, I don't need motivation. I don't need to get hyped up to come on here. I don't need somebody being like, go, Jada, go. It's time. Get on there. Get on there. And I used to feel like I needed somebody who was going to be on my top. Like I needed a coach that was going to be like, every day, this is what you create. Did you post today? Da, 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 X, Y, and Z. And I felt like that was the only way that I was going to be able to be consistent. I was like, I need somebody in my ear every day. And here I am. I don't there ain't no accountability except to y'all. I tell y'all I'm gonna show up and that's my accountability, but I really don't need the motivation because I understand it. Like I get it. I know how to do it. Like, okay, like the motivation is this is how you make money. This is what you do to market. The content is doing something. Like people need this information. Like those are the things that really move me now, not necessarily somebody telling me what I should be doing every day. And I don't even think that I realized that I could be this kind of person. I could be this consistent. I could be this person who could say such bold things, such courageous things, and taking these chances and these risks and learning and building in public. I never knew I could be this person. And I get to see now that I sometimes couldn't imagine it because I needed to just do it. I just needed to keep showing up and then the evidence speaks for itself. That the what I've done speaks for itself, right? So let me pause here for a minute. Let me pause here and let me read. Let me read. I think it's one more new comment. So Adrian said, yes, I was forcing it to be coaching slash consulting, which was limiting me. And I don't even know, and I didn't even know it until I started working with you. Oh, I didn't know that was coming. Unboxing, undoing those limitations. So all of my work oh wait, I'm think I'm misreading that last part. Undoing those limitations so my work can come together. I'm missing that last part. I'm also reading this from a very far distance. I usually have the chat pulled up on my phone, but I think I get the gist of what you're saying. Undoing the limitations so all of your work can come together. Am I getting it? Let me know. Let me know. I think that it's man, it's so many different like so many different things are like popping up for me in my mind. And I really do feel like I have to say this is our at this point we already are like we here now. I've been here talking for a very long time. So let me say this part. I think that as inspirational thinkers that we sometimes can be afraid of our potential. And when I say that, I mean we start to get afraid of how big things can get and being concerned about our ability to manage it and to maintain it. And so I think that we can sometimes try to make things make sense too fast. If for me as a systems thinker, or try to take someone who's more practical to like, take their advice because they seem like they're so disciplined and they've just like they've got this routine down packed, and we try to contain our ideas before they've had enough time to expand, and it's like trying to manage it so that we can be sure that we can actually handle it. And I'm imagining like a balloon, like a balloon getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're over here trying to like keep the balloon to a reasonable size. We don't want it to pop. So we're like trying to like squeeze the balloon, but like the helium is still filling up in this balloon and it's going, 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 and we're like constantly squeezing it to something that we can manage. But in the reality, the balloon has the capacity to stretch so far that we wouldn't even be able to hold it. We wouldn't even be able to keep it in our arms because this balloon has so much potential for expansion. And like that the idea of that is scary because if I can't hold the balloon, then what's going to happen to it? Is it going to float into the air? Am I going to lose this balloon? Is it going to pop and jack up my eardrums? Like, you just don't know. You don't know because you're afraid of what you don't have the ability to control and maintain and or manage, or what you believe you can't manage. And so I think that's what we do at a lot of times with our ideas, because as an inspirational thinker, I know that a lot of us get really big ideas. As a visionary, you're wired that way. You're wired to have these really big ideas and these really scary things that you're excited about the idea of it, but then you're also like, oh dang, how am I going to do that? Like how am I going to make that work? What are the logistics of it? And so being able to trust that we can manage it and we can maintain it, and if we find ourselves struggling to do so, we can always get help. Like, we don't have to try to make it something small enough for us to manage. Maybe it was never meant to just be something that we can manage. Allow it to expand and to grow, because like more than likely it wasn't something that you were even supposed to be doing by yourself. It wasn't a solo project. And so I feel that somebody really needs that encouragement and that call out, so to speak, so that you are aware that, hey, I might be doing this. I might be trying to limit my ideas before they have a chance to expand. Like let it grow. Let it let it let it continue to get bigger and expand, and being able to trust myself, my creativity and my consistency, and I have the confidence to know that I can manage this. And if I don't know how to, I the resources that I need will be available to me. You know? Oh, okay. Okay. Adrian added to her statement. So, okay, let me read this again. So, I was forcing myself to be coaching slash consulting, which was limiting me, and I didn't even know it until I started working with you, undoing those limitations so all of me can work together to create. Yes, I love it. I love it. So, okay, let's keep on moving. So let's get into what this is that I'm selling. We've talked a lot about it already, and I actually am going to go through this part a little bit faster. But I do want to talk about what this looks like practically. So we talked a lot about how it feels, how it shows up, the experiences that I've had with it, right? You were there. I don't have to rehash it all. But I do want to talk about like what this now looks like as a business, like as a product. So the creative thinking styles are the creative thinking styles are really a cognitive framework. And there are the ideas, although the idea was inspired by the research by Adam Jorlin, I've taken it and I've created something that now takes that concept and helps people apply it to their business. It helps creative entrepreneurs apply it in a way where it helps them to be consistent, to be confident, to show up. It shows different teams how to work together, how to collaborate, how to create things that are impactful and are important without our individual ways of processing ending up being barriers, or where we are like consistently butting heads. So all of these things and so much more that I haven't even gotten into, that I'm not even aware of. I know that it's possible with this. And so it's this isn't this framework that is created through this is intellectual property. And with that being so, it now has the ability to grow so much bigger and so much further than a YouTube video. Like literally, like this video series is just the very tip of the iceberg. And so some of the things that can be risks for this direction, I'm gonna start with those, and I'm gonna get into the different ways that I can scale the creative thinking styles. So the first thing is staying too abstract. Okay, so we're talking about the way that our brains work, which can be very cool to learn, but when it comes to how it actually applies, or like what does it matter, like what does that matter, like what does that mean, what do I do with this now, like this is exciting, but where do I take this? Saying too abstract can make it where the content is entertaining, or the content people are engaging with it, but then it doesn't actually give them something to do. It doesn't actually call them to action. So that's the first one. The second one is going too deep into the creative thinking styles being fixed. I've said this a few times, and it may be worth mentioning again that although you do have a dominant creative thinking style, which is honestly your preferred thinking style, that's what makes it dominant. It is the preference that you have, and it is your strongest way of thinking. But you can develop yourself in all of the thinking styles because they're skills. None of them are fixed. You might be a dominant inspirational thinker right now, but then a few years from now, that might switch and your strongest one might be divergent. right? It's not something that is set in stone. And so I want to make sure that you know that not only can your thinking styles change, which I'm not sure just yet how that'll work out for people, or even for me. Like, I'm not sure how much that's going to change. I think that my preferences are pretty set when it comes to that, although I'm not opposed to developing the other ones if that's what I need. However, it also means that the way that you work with them can also be flexible. Like, nothing that I'm saying is a hard set. This is what you have to do. This is what you have to follow. But what it does do is it gives you some of the common challenges, the common traits, the common things to look for, and which direction to start with so that you can start actually executing things. So you can start getting that clarity, and that confidence can strengthen, right? So being sure that I present it in a way where this is not a fixed identity. This is not as firm as the day you were born. There is fluid. So that's another risk. The third one is building a business that contradicts the entire thesis that I have presented to you with in regards to not having to follow rigid posting schedules, or the tapping into or promoting hustling or grinding. If I started to shift the way that what I believe and the things that I create in my business, and they start to align with those ideologies, then also that would also be misaligned. So I am very particular about what it is that I share, what I suggest, what I give as advice, and even what I create. When it comes to the creative authority protocol, I gave you a plan, but even then the plan still has breathing room. It still has flexibility. And although it is a guide, it's not something that you are required to follow each day exactly. It's meant to be a guide and a guide only. And so when I create things, I have to be sure that I'm not putting very rigid things within it, or things that promote the counter of what I'm saying that these styles is bringing to you. And if I'm being honest, I don't see that one being a big risk, but it is something that is worth keeping in mind as I grow and scale this. Yeah, yeah. Let me see. Let me pull up the chat on my phone. Okay. So Adrian said the balloon is me. I'm uncovering now that there is so much about me that wants to be expanded and expressed. Yes, that makes sense. That more creative thinking styles can be developed like my systems. Yeah. Yeah. They're very anyone can be any of them. You really make that decision based on what you prefer, and what you're inclined to get into. Yeah. So those are the things that um can be potential risks. So a couple of things that I want to touch on is that the framework is not meant to argue or to refute anyone's experiences. It is simply meant to explain it. And if it ever feels like you're being pushed into a certain direction that doesn't make sense, I would absolutely caution you to take a minute and to think about, okay, what feels aligned about this and what doesn't. And even when we do the creative thinking style profile together, I'm always asking that question. I'll take a minute, I'll read some of your breakdown, and I'll be like, okay, does that make sense to you? Does that resonate with you? Is that explaining you? Because I want to make sure that it is explaining your experience, not trying to push a narrative onto you. um One of the things that this framework has allowed me to stand on as a I'm not even like as a phrase, like as a not like a catchphrase, but like it's make this is one of like the core themes, I guess you could say, is that you're not inconsistent because of a lack of discipline. And I really want, if nothing else, I want us to unlearn that, because the whole discipline discussion, the whole inconsistency discussion, I get concerned with the way that people are presenting it, because there there's so much shame that I feel comes across when people talk about it. And I'm not saying that that's their intention to do it, but I'm just telling you what it feels like and what I'm hearing. And the ability to, instead of harping on discipline, discipline, consistency, consistency, instead talking about it from a way of what does this look like if it actually is neither of those things? Or the way to see more of that is by not focusing on, am I disciplined? Am I consistent? And instead focusing on understanding yourself. And I was inspired by that, especially by a creator named Dr. Tracy Marks. She is a psychologist. I think she's a psychologist, psychiatrist. I don't recall which one exactly she is. And she talks a lot about the brain, a lot of neuroscience things. And she talked about how we are we're more motivated by compassion. Like, compassion is what actually moves us to make different choices. It's what moves us to grow. And that when we use things like shame and self deprecation, or when we are more negative towards ourselves than compassionate, it makes us more likely to repeat cycles. And I told y'all before, if one thing I do not like when people don't just address the problem. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And so when she said that in the video, and I realized how many people were approaching this from a place of shame and not from a place of compassion, I was like, ah, that ain't even accurate scientifically. That ain't even accurate. And so if it's promoting shame, if it is promoting being negative, and it's not actually utilizing compassion, it's not presenting an understanding, it's not giving people a new way to look at it, and especially if it's not presenting solutions, then it's a no for me. Hard pass. Hard pass. And so this is what reduces shame, because shame does not actually help us to move forward. It also increases your self-trust, and it gives you the next steps. So the way that I have created this framework is that it tackles all of those things almost in that order, actually reducing the shame, which then allows you to be consistent, which builds your self-trust and strengthens your confidence. And then it also gives you the steps so that your confidence can be built. So whereas I skipped it there, I skipped ahead. So let me say it again. Reducing the shame, which then increases your self-trust, which then leads you to what the next steps are, so that those next steps can give you the evidence that strengthens your confidence. That systems thinker coming into play. So all of those points are touched on within the different ways that I have used this framework so far. And no matter what you get from me, you're going to always get those things. We're going to break down the shame. We're going to build your self trust. We're going to give you some steps, because it don't mean nothing if you're not executing it. I don't care. Okay. We can key and talk all day. Let's execute, do some things, get some stuff out there, because that is what you need to build your confidence. And eventually you will be at a place where you won't need somebody motivating you. You won't need somebody being like, yeah, make sure you post. You got to post every day, multiple times a day. If you're not posting about your business, what are you doing? You're scrolling all day. All of that stuff won't matter to you, because you'll be doing it. It won't even apply to you. It'll just be like, oop, okay, next post. Because you won't require all of that external motivation and validation to do the things that you know are necessary. All right. Okay. All right. We are quickly coming up on 2 hours. All right. So let me see how I can. Oh, we're not doing too bad. We're not doing too bad. Okay. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about how I'm finna scale this bad boy. Scaling this. Okay. So one of the first things is actually this content series that I have been doing, the creative thinking series. This is the first step in turning this into a framework and presenting what I believe is going to be a revolutionary understanding for creatives. Like I boy, this is a good one. So this is the first start. So the explanations, the breakdowns, and the case studies was the very first way to present this to you. It also served as a way for me to market the things that were created to help with this. So, the creative thinking style profile, which is the assessment that you do with me, where we determine your dominant creative thinking style, your secondary thinking style, and then we create a strategy around it that helps you to either get more consistent with your content, develop a content rhythm. It helps to give you a way to start making offers, like putting together different business ideas. And it also helps you to get past the blocks, right? That you feel with creativity. And so that is one offer. That was the first thing that I started with. And then now the entry product is the creative authority protocol. I'm not sure what I was trying to say there. The creative authority protocol, which is a 30-day plan. And it is what I would suggest to people who are curious, but you need to see for yourself, does this actually work for me first? It doesn't tell you your creative thinking style. You do have to use your best judgment on what you believe your dominant one is, but it does give you a good idea, and it does give you a space to start to strengthen that confidence and to build your self-trust as well. And so that's my entry product. And then from there, it can be workshops. I haven't done a workshop connected to this yet. I mentioned it is a part of selling without selling out, which is a workshop that I have that's to design your offer. And the creative thinking styles was a part of it, but it is not necessarily a workshop yet. But that is something that it's a direction I could definitely take it in. And then as far as a program, which would be another way for me to expand it, it is already a part of the Getting Unshy collective. So within the platform, you have access to the creative thinking style assessment. You also can take it with me. That is a part of it as well. So you can take it with me. And that way, once you get that understanding, you're now working with a good start inside of the collective to start to further develop your brand, to start experimenting with things, start creating your offers, and start to show up consistently and have someone there who can help answer your questions. So the creative thinking style became a way to further help people get unshy. Like it is a part of one of the branding tools that I have, so to speak. So that is how that's how I'm breaking it down so far. That's where we're starting. So the content, the media system was first, then the entry product, which I've created, then a workshop or something that gives people a taste of it, a way to work with it. Instead of the workshop, I think that the thing that could go there instead would be the creative thinking style profile. That is something that you can do with me one on one, like a one off, like a consultation. And so I'll put that one in that place for now. And then it is in a program. So now I'm taking all of this, and not only am I making it something that people can implement, I'm now shaping it to fit different price points and different ways for people to use it. So the entry level, this is a part of a bigger system. This is what it looks like to, like, just get like one off if you're not trying to be in a program, but you also need something a little bit more than the entry product. So all of that's there. So the starts of it, the beginnings of it is already there. And so the tools that I have so far, the biggest one is the creative thinking style profile. This it's a GPT that I made, and we go through it, and it helps to give you your creative thinking style, and then it also takes that style and the information about your business and what you're doing already, and helps to shape it even further, taking into account the way that you think, and then putting it into the proper places. So we got that. And then another way that it can go from there is having a community attached to it. And this is one that I would really like to do. I would really like to do in person. I do have some ideas for things that I want to do in the area. I live in Virginia, so either in DC, Maryland, or Virginia, DMV area, even in Richmond, maybe further down. And so I do want to do some things here as well. That would be probably like the next evolution in it after that, because I did these, I didn't do these in this order. It just all worked out that I have something for every stage. But I definitely didn't do it in order. It was like jumping all over the place, because I just had to feel, I had to fill it out, and I had to work with people using it to get an understanding of how to make it into a product or make it into a tool. Like, what tool does this make the most sense in? And so I'm hoping that that makes sense. I would love to get into that a little bit more, but I think that that's good enough for now. And so the framework then becomes something that is licensable, licensable and ownable, and something that also can be taught outside of me. So it gives it an opportunity for it to give me a profit without me having to directly be involved in it, which is the beauty in IP, intellectual property, having these frameworks and creating these things, is that you can literally make it into so many different products and offers and services. And so many of them do not require you to be hands on in them, but you still created it. Like, and I think that part is like super cool to me. And it also is in line with how I am as a creative thinker. And so all of these things that I described, actually there was something that I wanted to talk about when it came to the offers and scaling it. But here's what I say to that, because that one is one that the story is still unwritten. All right. Shout out to Natasha. It's still unwritten. But what I do want to see, and I wasn't even thinking about this really until Adrian, until you brought it up, but seeing this as a curriculum in schools, I would love, love, love to see high school kids have their hands on this. I mean, even younger than that, but I don't know, something about young adults, teenagers, that I feel really connected to them. Like, I don't know, like I feel like this would be really helpful at that stage in their lives. And it's such a powerful time to tap into discovering yourself, because you're learning so much about yourself already. And anyway, I would love to see it in schools. I would love to see it in bigger corporations, because so many of them don't work well together. So many of them are experiencing issues, and a lot of them are not taking advantage of the creatives that they have. Like, they're not using the creatives or creative thinking to its fullest capacity. They're not even touching they're not even like touching the beginning of it, if I'm being honest. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity there. There's some things that I've thought about for years, and I mean literally years, that go into creativity and the skills that you have as a creative, and being able to see how they transfer into the workplace, how they contribute to the economy, all of those things. Those are all things that I've cared about for a long time. And so being able to have something, I have literally have a tool, have a framework that can support that, makes me so excited and so proud, because it feels like I'm living in an answered prayer. Like it feels like I'm walking this out, like this is happening. And so that's one of the ways that I see it scaling beyond what I've already done. So that's it. That's y'all getting a little bit in my business, okay? A little bit of the tea. But everything that I described, it has the framework, the alignment, the tools. That's what the creative authority protocol is built around. I mentioned this earlier, but we're quickly approaching 2 hours, and so I feel like it'd be good to remind you that the creative authority protocol is available. You heard my story. I think that the biggest reason why I was the case study for this was because I needed to be able to tell y'all my journey with this. I needed to be able to tell you, I needed you to be able to see what it looks like when you understand this, what changes, how you show up differently when you understand it, and that all the things that you felt like were never possible for you are actually possible. You can actually lock in now because you understand yourself. You understand how to navigate the challenges that you've been coming up against, but just didn't realize that that's what you was up against. You didn't even know who your opponent was. But now you understand. You know how to move past the procrastination. You know how to not just have an idea in your head or in your journal, but how to actually execute it. You're somebody who is doing the things that you think about, and not just daydreaming about it and just thinking about it, or scrolling past other people who are doing it and feeling like, when is it going to be my time? When am I going to be able to see that? But then also simultaneously feeling shame because you don't feel like you've been showing up consistently enough to even want that. And because of how much of a struggle it's been, it doesn't feel like it's ever going to happen for you. Because how can I get from barely posting or struggling to show up or creating content that people aren't paying attention to being someone who's on these stages and hosting these events, and in these different countries, working with people, helping people, serving people? How am I going to start these nonprofits? How am I going to have these organizations and these foundations? How am I going to have these grants and scholarships? How am I going to be able to be this person that can do these things if I'm still struggling at the early stages? I'm still stuck on step one. That's what I want you to be able to get from this, from me telling you real life. I was not doing good at this. I was creative, but it wasn't, you wouldn't really be able to tell because I was not showing up like I knew I could. But I also couldn't articulate what was missing. And so the creative authority protocol is a very, very low risk way for you to try this out. Test it out for yourself and to see, does this actually work? Can I show up consistently? Can I create consistently? Can I trust myself to show up now that I understand me more? Now that I understand how to navigate it? Now that I know what it looks like to set myself up every day to complete something, to get one step closer to finishing, so that I can look back at all the evidence that I have now given myself that no, I can do this. I got this. So it's there. The link to it is in the chat. I will also be putting it in the description box later. But that's it, y'all. That is it. That is my case study. This is why I should not go this long, not going live. I'm still just so I'm so blown away by how much I've been talking. But yeah, this is it. Definitely in colleges too. Yeah, definitely in colleges. I think I meant to say that, but I felt myself going down another path. So I lost track of that. But yeah, that's why I was going with young adults. Yeah, it's so many different things that I've thought to do, and it feels like the creative thinking styles makes the connection. Like this is the way to do it. So I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting ride. It's gonna be an interesting ride. But yeah, that's it. This is gonna be interesting to edit later. I love learning more about you today, Jada. Oh, thank you, Adrian. I appreciate that. I do. I enjoy sharing it. I don't know. I feel like I share a lot of myself, but then I don't think that I don't often just take time to just talk about me this in depth, I guess. And so one thing that I won't say always, but one thing that I've thought about doing for a while was a documentary for myself. And every year around my birthday is actually coming up, y'all. It's March 13th. And I, every year for the past few years, I've said I want to do some kind of documentary or some kind of introduction and tell my story because I feel like I've gone pretty far, especially from where I started as an entrepreneur. I feel like I've grown so much and I've developed so much, but I don't take a lot of time to reflect on that or think about it. And I definitely don't share it in its totality. And I think that part of the reason why is because I feel like it's there. Like it's not like I'm not, none of my stuff is private. I don't hide my old content. You could go and you could scroll back and you could see for yourself just how long I've been here. You can see, and you can see all of my old videos. You can see the growth, but I do think that it is it would be something important for myself to do and to just take a minute to look back over the journey. So I'll see we'll see if that happens this year. I don't know if it will happen before my birthday, um or if it'll even happen this upcoming month, but that is something that I've desired. But I will say that I think that the meaning of it is definitely like, okay, the meaning's got to be there. The meaning's got to make this got to make sense for me. And so it's something that I can see myself making just for me. But if I share it, then there's a part of me that wants it to have a broader appeal than listen to my life. So yeah, but I'm glad. I felt like I said earlier, this was necessary, and I was the subject for a reason. So next, I think we should be good on Thursday, y'all. This will be a two-time live stream week. I'm pretty certain. I'm pretty certain. I will play around. If I Let me say this: if it's not Thursday, then it will definitely be Friday afternoon. So the only reason why I didn't do Friday last week was because I thought about it too late to promote it. And it's not a day that people are used to expecting me on at all. So you know Tuesday and you know Thursday. So if I pop up whenever, you know Tuesday and Thursday. So I will give you that disclaimer this week that if Thursday doesn't work, Friday definitely will. I usually need like a little buffer in between though, because I have to I gotta organize it a little bit. I don't want to just be on here talking. So be looking out for me on those days. And that's it. Y'all be good. Take care of yourselves. Stay warm, especially if you have been impacted by the snow or salted by the snow, because it is a salt. Tired of it. Anyway, stay warm. And I'll talk to y'all in the next video. Bye.